Sometimes boxing is like a soap opera. When it's at its best, it is a very entertaining one. When it's at its worst, not so much. But we get the fight inside the ring. That's one aspect of it. It's huge. Everybody knows it. We get these two great warriors who will go out there and battle it out to determine who wins. We get the business aspect of it, right? That's the second facet. All of who's going to fight who, when are they going to fight, the money behind it, how this gets set up, potential title runs, and all this kind of stuff. That goes on. A little bit less entertaining, but necessary for that first win to happen. And then we get that third aspect, and that's the drama. That's the true soap opera part to it. Sometimes this works out really great. Sometimes we get that soap opera aspect, and it is entertaining. It builds things up. It really gets people invested in the fight. And then to cap it off, cherry on top of the cake, we get the fight between the two guys. That's when it's at its best. But when it's at its worst, it seems like some high school drama. It seems like you get schoolgirls who are out there fighting, bickering, and we're all standing on the sidelines, and we can't help but wonder, why don't they squash all of this nonsense and get in there and fight? Because that's what we really want to see anyways. This week had a little bit of everything going on. We get the announcement between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. Boom, Gervonta Davis out of the fight, gets pulled. No go. He's got some legal actions going on. He will not be stepping in there and fighting against Jake Paul. Now, all of a sudden, MVP is supposedly out there canvassing the boxing world, trying to get everybody and anybody who will sign up for this fight on short notice. It's Anthony Joshua. It's Ryan Garcia. It's Terrence Crawford. It's anybody that they can possibly find that they're going to plug in there that's going to be a big superstar that will generate the type of buzz in the eyeballs that a Jake Paul fight gets. Okay, I can see all that. And then all of a sudden, Oscar De La Hoya comes out and he's like, hey, everybody needs to listen and everybody needs to pay attention. One of the things that we will not see happening is Jake Paul fighting Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is on DAZN. Jake Paul's on Netflix. We've got contracts to honor. This is not a way to do business. Jake Paul will not be fighting Ryan Garcia. And oh, by the way, we'll see you on Saturday for Virgil Ortiz versus Lubin. Okay, I get all that too. Makes perfect sense. And then we find out the next side of the equation, or the next side of the die, right? That die just keeps rolling. We see the next one, and it's, for the past couple weeks, apparently Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios have been in negotiations for a fight. Much more realistic fight. Obviously, both of these men out here at 147, we can see this fight happen. But the first thing that came to mind when this fight got announced, a little bit of a head scratcher, one that makes us think, is Ryan Garcia worthy of a title shot? Sounds like a crazy word, worthy. Does he deserve it? Should he be getting it? Is this the way the sport is supposed to function? And the answer is absolutely not. Not even close, not even a little bit. Let me ask you a question. How many times has Ryan Garcia fought at welterweight? That's with Mario Barrios is the champ, holds the belt at welterweight, 147 pounds. He's got one of them strapped around his waist. So how many times has the potential challenger for that belt, Ryan Garcia, fought at that weight class? Answer is one. One time, it was his last fight against Rolly Romero. He lost that one. And it wasn't all as though it was some super close fight. Got dropped early in the fight, second round, goes on to lose. Now, you may want to make the argument that he actually fought at the welterweight class, the welterweight limit, one fight before, so it'd be two fights. I don't really agree with that. That fight was scheduled at 140 pounds. The man came in overweight at 143. And that's why he wasn't at the junior welterweight limit. So he's only fought one sanctioned fight at 147 pounds, and he lost that fight. You go back to the one before that, the one I just mentioned that he had with Devin Haney, he won that fight. On, fight night, he ended up coming out with the victory. But let's not forget about the drug suspension. Okay, the man failed the drug test. He got suspended. That fight got changed to a no contest, I believe. So you look, in his most recent set of events, set of fights, we've got a man who went out there and got stopped by Gervonta Davis, got the no contest to Devin Haney, steps up to welterweight for his only fight, loses the fight to Rolly Romero. You know what we should do? We should set that man up for a title fight on his next one. Like, that's the madness that we deal with. That's the madness that we deal with. Think about all the potential guys at 147 that deserve a shot at that belt before Ryan Garcia. But now think about this. If you're Mario Barrios and you're holding that belt, who are you going to fight who's going to make more money for you than Ryan Garcia? And the answer is nobody. There is nobody at 147 pounds who's going to generate that buzz and put money in Mario Barrios' pocket like a fight with Rolly Romero. And then I'd like to think about it from one other aspect before we actually get into the fight. Think about Mario Barrios. This dude was, for the most part, he was relatively unknown. There were some hardcore boxing fans who knew him, but as far as casual fans, less interested fans who aren't just hardcore up on there every day trying to figure out what's going on, they had never heard of this man just a few years ago. Didn't know who he was. The hardcore boxing fans who did know him, the insiders, the trainers, the other fighters, a lot of respect for him. Everybody respects his craft and respects his skill, but I don't think that anybody was talking about this guy and looking at him as though he was going to be some world beater. Nobody was going around and talking about how great Mario Barrios was going to be. Okay? Think about what guys that we talk about like that. Think about like a young Gervonta Davis, a young Floyd Mayweather, a young current guy, Boots. Boots isn't, necessarily young, but we've been talking about him for a while. He hasn't had the big fight yet. You kind of get the vibe of how guys will get buzzed before they really get known, before they come up. We've seen people talked about in the past. That wasn't Mario Barrios. And I'm not trying to knock him, but it's just where his skill level is at. Lo and behold, this man ends up getting a fight with Gervonta Davis. Like, this was his ticket. This was his ticket. He was going out there and he was fighting one of the biggest stars in the sport. Now, he gets stopped, but a lot of people liked the way he looked in that fight. A lot of people liked his ruggedness. A lot of people liked the way he went out there and worked his craft. People wanted to see the man fight again. He ends up working some things, doing some stuff, ends up getting a belt and getting a fight with Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is a legend, man, an absolute legend. One of the biggest stars the sport has ever seen, bar none. With his worldwide appeal, there's a lot of people who weren't heavily invested in hardcore watching boxing when Manny Pacquiao was at the absolute peak of his popularity. That's hard to match. Even when you look at a guy like Floyd Mayweather, who is pretty much universally recognized as a better fighter, because that's what happens when you actually beat a guy in a fight. So he's pretty much universally recognized as a better fighter. We debate Floyd in the sense of, is he the greatest of all time? We don't talk about that with Manny Pacquiao. But I'll tell you this, even Floyd acknowledged that Manny Pacquiao was a much bigger star than he was. When you looked at worldwide appeal, Manny Pacquiao was huge. So you take this guy, Mario Barrios, not really talked about, nobody really knows him, not projected to be the next big the next big guy, goes out and ends up finding himself in a fight with Manny Pacquiao, getting a huge payday, and then he doesn't lose. Doesn't lose the fight. Didn't win the fight either. I get it, right? That's another conversation. But he didn't lose the fight. Leaves with his belt and probably a couple $1 million in his pocket. And because of that, it looks like he could potentially parlay this into a fight with Ryan Garcia. Think about that for a minute. What a come up for that guy. What a come up for Mario Barrios, a guy who's a lifer in the sport, been grinding and working, trying to do everything that he can, and one step after another, one foot in front of the next, goes out there and ends up finding himself in one massive fight for a payday and potentially another massive fight for a payday. And I watched that fight with Manny Pacquiao. He was much more dangerous than I thought he was going to be. I thought Manny's last great fight was the one against Keith Thurman. Turns out that he was able to go out there against Mario Barrios, and he was still able to look good. He was able to go out there and compete at an incredibly high level. And I think Ryan Garcia will be an easier fight for Mario Barrios. Now, that doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to win. That remains to be seen. But the Ryan Garcia that we saw in that last fight with Rolly Romero was not the same Ryan Garcia that we had seen coming up. Was that because of a lack of focus? Was that because of a lack of training? Had he been away from the sport so long because of the suspension and dealing with the mental health issues that he had, that he wasn't training, he wasn't making it happen, and he's not that guy anymore, and he's never going to be able to go out there and do what he does. He was never the best, but he's even not going to be able to be at the level he was. Or is it because of the drugs? We saw the drug test come up. He popped dirty. He's trying to say that, whatever, a tainted supplement, something I ate, minuscule, tiny little amount. It wasn't something that I intentionally ingested. I don't remember what his story was. I do remember that he didn't just come out and say, yeah, I took it and I got caught. I don't know how I got in there, all of these types of things, but comes out for his next fight, no dirty test, poor performance. It's interesting. It's interesting how those things develop. It's interesting how it all turns out. But I will tell you this. It's going to be a good fight. It will be entertaining. People are going to watch 100% if this fight gets made. because it will be a good boxing match. You got stories behind it. Everybody's going to want to see what's next with Ryan Garcia. If Mario Barrios is able to come out with the victory on this one, think about that and what'll even be next for him yet. So, let me know what you guys think. Is this going to be a fight that you're excited to see? What do you think about Ryan Garcia getting this shot? And if this gets made, let's say we're talking about, approximately springtime of next year, springtime 2026. Who do you think comes out with the victory? Let me know.